Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. We have a first-time guest. Chris Marcus is the founder and host of Arcadia Economics. He joined us this Thursday, September 10th, 2020. Chris, thanks for coming on the show the first time.
Dunnigan, it's a pleasure to be here. I've listened to your show for years, and a lot of my silver knowledge has come from you and guests that you have on there. So nice to be on here, and appreciate what you do.
I hope it comes more from the guests than from me, because I've been learning a lot along the way as well, and didn't know that you were a longtime watcher, but it was a pleasure to meet you at the Sprott 2020 conference, where we were on the Miles Franklin Independent Media team together, and now you're hosting a virtual conference yourself that starts tomorrow. So this will actually air Friday, so it'll be today when people watch this, the start of SilverFEST 2020. Can you quick give us a insight of what people can find about that, and then we're going to ask you some questions about what's going on right now in the silver market.
Sure. Well, if you like silver, if you're invested in silver, if you listen to reluctant preppers talk about silver, then should be right up your alley. A lot of the folks that I've been fortunate to meet, Dave Kranzler, Ted Butler, Keith Newmeyer, Andrew McGuire, Andy Scheckman will be there. Really tried to round up, a lot of the folks that I have on my show. I also did that book, The Big Silver Short, where I really tried to dig into it with the smartest people in silver that I could find. David Morgan, of course, going to be there. And we have all these gold conferences and we have precious metals, although I think the silver world is just a little bit special and unique. I mean, it takes a little bit of a special mindset to be a silver investor, where you really have to have some patience. And, maybe the one part that I felt has been missing is really just some fun and celebration. Yes, if you've been invested in silver, you got your face pounded in over the last 9 years. So certainly we've had our scars and wounds, but I think we actually started planning this before the silver rally earlier this summer. I think it was before that. It's been a couple months, and so it's nice to see the price up, have that to celebrate. But even aside from that, just get people together that, a lot of silver investors often feel like the lone wolf in their town. And if you've ever wanted to connect with other people that are seeing the same thing, looking at life in the same way, that's what the whole SilverFest is going to be about.
How do people get connected if they want to? And it's 100% free?
Yeah, it's free to attend. Fortunately, we have some sponsors I'm quite grateful for that allowed us to make it free to attend. And you can find information at arcadiaeconomics.com right on the home page. You can click there and register. We'll be starting Friday night, nice meet and greet, and then movie night if you want to come watch Trading Places. And then we dig into the panels, and everything starts on Saturday. We're also giving away a lot of silver. I have this weird condition. I just can't help myself. So, and in fact, Dunnigan, if you would like, we can, if anybody would like to post this interview and send it to your Twitter feed and mine, we can pick a winner and give away an ounce of silver tonight too. And we'll be doing plenty of that this weekend, which partly it's fun, and partly I also have thought a lot about how we talk about silver as money, this great conductor and transmitter of energy and electricity, yet it's ironic that your average silver guy, we're usually a bunch of hoarders, and really just, making things fun, giving people in silver something positive to celebrate and bring people together is really the whole goal of what we're doing.
It's interesting because silver was one of the first things that I got introduced to that got me interested in this whole topic of sound money. And it was actually a local coin dealership in the state where we used to live that actually put out a glossy flyer in everybody's mailbox, and it said you can get your first ounce of silver, an American Silver Eagle, for free, and then they'll talk to you about more of what they offer and everything. So we did that, and that's how I got my first Silver Eagle, and that's how I got Ted Butler's newsletter, and that's kind of down the rabbit hole I went. And it's been something that's been very accessible and very meaningful to me. Now, I'm one of those stackers who's been underwater for a long time since 2011. So now we have been seeing since December of 2015 a serious climb out of a low there, and we were fortunate enough to be able to average down significantly in December of 2015 to help reset our basis quite a bit lower than it was back from 2011. So it's been much more encouraging since then. And you're right, a lot of those same names of people who are going to be speaking at your conference, the SilverFest 2020, which is absolutely free, have been frequent guests on our show. What I want to know is, how did you get mixed up in all this? How did you get started?
Well, I was actually trading equity options on the New York Stock Exchange when the housing bubble hit. And I remember when Bernanke launched QE1 back in March of 2009. And the guy that had trained me as a trader, I had been his clerk. I heard him and this other guy joking about $11 loaf of bread. And so I wonder why Paul's saying that. And that was kind of the turning point where I was curious to ask more. He sent me some Peter Schiff videos. I started learning Austrian economics, and it was very instant. And you mentioned how a lot of people are underwater. Where this escalated was that I had a lot of silver, and again, I was trading options, so I had a big option position on gold and silver in 2011. The money printing was going insane. U.S. was getting downgraded, and then when the prices got clobbered in such a bizarre fashion, where you just see them destroyed in the middle of the night. That was very antithetical to anything I had ever been taught or seen in the trading industry or in any science of markets. And I think it was after gold got tattooed from 1900 in September of 2011 that I remember that was when I'm like, I feel like I've heard, someone did say gold or silver was manipulated. There was somewhere I'd heard it. And then that was when I started reading Ted Butler, who really put a lot of things in context. And it's, just one of those things where the more you dig into it, like some of the stuff, I could get it if people think, making some of this up because it's beyond wild. So it's like I can understand why some people have a hard time accepting it. The counter to that, I almost wonder, did I really see Jerome Powell in the last 6 months do quantitative easing, then unlimited quantitative easing, then 0% interest rates forever, and then that's not enough, so they're going to come up with the whopper that somehow we've had an inflation deficit and we need to 2% isn't fast enough. We got to go higher than that. Keep in mind, the 10-year Treasury yield is about 0.6%, so giving us a nice negative real yield there, and everyone just nods their heads along. I think that part's a little bit insane too. So there's a lot of stuff that's hard to believe out there, but it is what it is, and I just try and report on it and share what I've been able to find.
Now, can we zoom in for a minute on your book, The Big Silver Short? People are familiar with the movie The Big Short, and they've heard some of these tales of manipulation in the silver markets, but you got up close and personal with some people who had intimate knowledge of the investigations that had been going on. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Well, I started this project almost 2 years ago, and I figured, especially I'd been doing interviews on my show and thought, why not do an investigation, really round up all the people who've been part of this or have studied it or who really had something to say, like Ted Butler, like David Morgan, Craig Hemke, Andrew Maguire was a key one in there, and also Bart Chilton, the former commissioner of the CFTC, who, that's the best part. You don't have to take my word for it or anybody else's. Here's the guy who ran the investigation, when the CFTC, generous calling it an investigation. Bart came out and confirmed what so many had alleged. He confirmed that JP Morgan took over the Bear Stearns position. He confirmed that he saw stuff that he actually had the law eventually changed to what constitutes manipulation. He thinks under the new standard, JP Morgan would have been found guilty. Although we don't really have to speculate because now JP Morgan and their traders have been labeled a criminal enterprise by the Department of Justice, which I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is that that's not normally part, they don't normally say things like that or charge traders with the RICO statute. I think we've still only seen the tip of the iceberg there. Hard to know what's really going on with that investigation when the crime they're arresting people for continues to happen on weekly or sometimes even daily basis. But, this is the world of silver. And again, it takes some patience. But, gee, when this stuff gets resolved, there's some way silver isn't substantially higher. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, that's what we've been hearing for some time. I know it's caused some people to feel like they've been holding their breath for so long. That all depends where they got on the silver train, as some people call it. Sam Greer says, how long are you prepared to apologize for silver's abysmal performance? Isn't there a point where you turn bearish, as if the last 40 years hasn't been pathetic enough? Is it 50 years? 60 years? Can you put a clock on it for us? Will there ever be an end to the long line of silver excuse maker guests? And what my mind goes back to my younger years when silver was like $4, and I'm thinking, it's really significant, the move that it's made over that period of time. And but I guess it's a fair, okay, let's look for the grain of truth in the question and say, you said silver sometimes has been a tough arena for people to be in and to stay in. Why is that the truth? And do we have reason for hope that there'll be normalcy returning to this in any kind of way in the future? Or is it just the kinds of distortions that are in play seem to really see no end in sight?
I mean, I think it's a great question. It's absolutely a fair question. And by all means, I do my best always to phrase it. From time to time, I've talked people out of buying silver. There was someone who called me and he was saying, hey, this silver sounds great. It's a great way to make money really quick. And I told him, no, it is definitely not. And I can certainly understand the frustration. I've experienced that myself as well. Although I think, like you touched on a moment ago, it really comes down to the perspective. I mean, it's interesting, depending on what price someone paid, really can skew their perception. I mean, we're all looking at the same thing, but where we come from affects how we see it, which we're humans. That's natural. Again, unfortunately, silver market doesn't listen to me. It doesn't go up if I want it to go up, or go down if I want it to go down. I mean, I think that's what we have control over, our own perception, how we view things. To me, it seems like the long term, based on the fundamentals and the situation we have, is inevitably a much higher price. Now, I'll be the first to admit, when I was leaving the trading floor in 2012, I never thought this would be going on 2020. I mean, it's involved a lot of unusual things. I mean, a lot of government looking the other way at the least, if not complicit, which just my own personal opinion, I think is more likely. We had that, one of the things that opened my eyes early on. You had Andrew Maguire email, and you can still see this online, emailed the CFTC 2010, explained in advance of a manipulation exactly how the price would play it out. Sure enough, it played out. Same thing happened 10 years later on the recent Fed meeting as well. And what did they do? They removed him from the witness list. Again, when you asked about the book, it was almost the investigation, if I had been a CFTC investigator, I would have done. I mean, I don't know, maybe Ted Butler, I think he's largely right on the things he writes. Maybe not every detail is right, but to me, wouldn't you at least ask the guy? I mean, there's a world of people that find a lot of credence to what he's saying, and just to never call him in. So, yeah, it's hard to really think that the regulators are doing a genuine effort here. maybe along the lines of the question he asked, sometimes I think that, there's a lot riding on this system. Maybe, some of the stuff we see the Podestas and Clintons and some of these other political elites getting involved in, a lot of that's based on being able to run a printing press because the thing's bankrupt. So now that's a speculation. I'm not saying there's one-to-one direct correlation there, but I think there's a lot of stuff that comes out when this dollar goes. So I would say if you're investing in silver, be prepared that, like a lot of dirty people who are doing some unfortunate stuff are going to change. That's what you're really pricing the downside to silver. How will they change the rules? Will they, like with the Hunt brothers, raise margin requirements, tell you can't buy? I'm sure the government will do everything possible. Ethics, morality, law will be tossed out the window. And, watching that can be maddening on some days. The reason, now I won't tell anybody else what they should do. I mean, I think the best way and what I found helpful about investing, the more you learn and understand and make your own decisions, yet at least why I do what I do is that to me, it's very similar to the housing bubble. And when it goes, it won't go a little bit. It will go big. And, again, it all depends on someone's personality and mindset and style of investing. I mean, if you're great at short-term trading, then, that's perhaps not the way to go. But certainly if you're seeing all the debt, if you're seeing the insanity from these central banks, and you're not trying to be a hedge fund manager about it, but just say, all right, we're going to leave stuff and, whether it's my kids or me in a couple of years. But I think silver not only offers you a chance for a high return, not even just protecting your purchasing. I know some people say, you buy gold and silver to protect your money, and that's true. I also think you're going to get a great return on it, even relative to, goods and not just to valued dollars. And I think there's also a high probability of that, but you need to be able to have some patience for sure.
Yeah, Rick Rule has a saying. He says you have to be, and he was talking about uranium at the time, but he said you have to be willing to be wrong for a while, but you eventually will be right. And we just interviewed Rob Kirby. By the time this goes live, that may also be live, or this may get out just before that. But basically, he was talking about, in the face of all of this malpractice by the central banks, abusing our currency supply, creating this unsurvivable, unrecoverable debt situation, and in the face of what looks like manipulation of the silver price low and artificial metals price artificially low, he says, this is a gift. And Rick Rule has also said it's the gift of a lifetime. You've got a clear fundamental picture being played out there about what's going wrong with our currency, wrong with our banking, wrong with our government's use of our funds, likelihood of increased taxes, that sort of thing. And in the face of that, you've got this artificially low price of something that's real. What do you think you should do to take advantage of that situation? So, you can look at it and complain about it. You can look at it and say, wow, what a gift. Back to SilverFEST, if we could, because that's quite remarkable to have masterminded the founding of a free virtual conference, especially in a year when most conferences have been canceled this year. To have pulled that off and to be inviting people to sign up for free. We have Larry Moser, who reported his question for you is, yay, SilverFest. So just once again, people can go to arcadiaeconomics.com and just sign up for free and attend SilverFest from Friday night through Sunday. And there's going to be all kinds of different, and you have a list of guests and panels and speakers and movies and things that are going to be part of that. So people it's free. You can't lose on that one. Sometimes you have a habit of giving away free silver. You've offered to anybody who reposts this video on their feed, let us know about it and can be in running. Sometimes there gets to be a little bit of a backlog there. Southeast Wisconsin Wildlife says, where the heck is my free silver coin, Chris? So is there sometimes a challenge in catching up on handing out of the free coins?
Well, if we gave out a free coin and he did not receive it yet, please email us at Arcadia at Miles Franklin. do want to make sure those all get out there. I give out a lot of free coins these days. I try and keep track of all of them. So I apologize if that one didn't get there, but please contact us so that we can make sure it does.
Okay, Southeast Wisconsin Wildlife. Make sure you follow up with Arcadia Economics. Chris, any more last thoughts that you have for our subscribers before we let you go?
Yeah, perhaps you mentioned a lot of great points, and the one with Rick Rule and some of the other investors where, again, it's that difference of mindset of, some people, when the price of something is low, they're happy. In investments, I get it. We want to be paid off, have the win. But again, that's where I think it comes down to the mindset of not, I think silver should be a lot higher. And I think one day it will be, but I can't control that. But I can control, how I look at it. And I've been on both sides of this. There were years it took me to figure out how to get a business together. And during the majority of that time, basically everything I had was somehow silver or a levered asset or derivative of silver. So certainly there have been times where it's like, I have this big position on. If things skyrocketed now, it'd be great. So I understand that. But I mean, it's interesting, once I got the business up and running, and might point out even more than silver, investing, if some people don't have money for silver, investing in yourself or just building your skills, always a good way to go. Fortunately, once things came together business-wise, now it's like, all right, great. Let's press the price of silver. It's nice to have extra money come in each month. And
you made me think of one more thing I wanted to bring on there, and that we've talked about this like with David Morgan and some others who take a more philosophical approach sometimes, and that is that with a contentious presidential election season upon us and already demonstrated riots and looting and that sort of thing, people talking about the potential and even the promise in some cases of widespread social unrest, depending on what outcome we see politically or whatever else might happen, be the news story of the week. Is it possible, and should we temper our enthusiasm for a runaway on silver, realizing that the world in which that's likely to happen is going to be one where we're facing a host of other serious challenges, even existential challenges to our safety, our family's well-being, the ability to get food and other things, vital resources and things like that. So should we maybe temper our cheerleading for silver to run away and instead maybe make store, like you said, take care of yourself. Okay, that's one thing, and stock up on other things of life, stuffs of life that you need. That as real money may be one of those things, but part of that bigger picture of a future ahead that's going to be pretty challenging.
Well, I really appreciate you asking me that question, because I hear, obviously we hear that a lot, and I get what he's saying, and he could well be right. I don't know. Maybe we'll all be shooting each other in the streets. Although, at least the more that I've thought about it over the years, when silver went to $50 in 2011, the whole world kept rotating. Most people didn't even have a darn clue about it. Now silver is $30, gold's $2,000, and I mean, the world was already kind of falling apart a couple of months ago before gold hit $2,000. So, I think that's going to be the effect of what, the cause is what Powell's doing. Yeah, I think that's darn unfortunate, because he's making life is already hard for a lot of people right now. And I think that's darn unfortunate. And so if to the degree that the Fed and the government are doing some of the unfortunate things they're doing now, to me, that's the sad part. Now, on top of that, I wonder, though, when we look at how much money has been laundered, used for, September 11th, I'm sure it was just a bunch of random guys, and George Bush and a cult wasn't involved at all. Or, when they said there were weapons of mass destruction, that not only weren't they there, but they knew they weren't there. All this stuff is funded with the dollar. Look how much nefarious, harmful acts around the globe are possible because of the dollar. So I don't know. I don't know what the transition will be like. Yet to me, it's like if we're using pet rocks or tulip bulbs instead of the dollar, life would probably be better for a lot of people as it is right now. And that's why I appreciate what you do, and I think it's more important than some of us realize sometimes, because if enough people understood. I mean, we're talking about the banks. They get caught one crime after another. Governments get caught, and even if the stuff with the children is even remotely true, I mean, it's horrific seeing what people are doing, all facilitated with a dollar system. So anything outside of that, I wonder. And we also know so much of our society is based on keeping people in fear. So is it at least possible? I'm not saying it's the case, but at least possible that this idea that without the dollar we're all going to melt down is maybe just another fear tactic. Again, I don't know.
That reminds me of the posters in the Truman Show when he thinks he's going to leave and he goes into the travel agency and there's all these disaster travel posters on the wall to kind of keep him in this world of fear where he's going to not break out of the control and the manipulation of that. You made me also think about E.B. Tucker came on and talked about gold as a truth serum, and my boss said the truth shall set you free. So that's another thing is finding out the truth about how bad things are in the political and financial world. The truth is not a bad thing. What was going on was a bad thing. The fact that you found out about it, it's good that you learned the truth. So silver and gold can be like that ark to get you through the flood. And so we'd be glad you have it one day. Don't blame the fact that there may be a disaster going on the fact that you have an ark, but be glad that you do have one. So anyway, Chris, just glad that you could take a few minutes with us. I know you've got to get ready for your show that starts tomorrow, SilverFest 2020. People go to ArcadiaEconomics.com, sign up for free to go to this free virtual conference. Chris, just really appreciate you coming on Liberty and Finance this first time.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Hope to see you there tomorrow night, and appreciate you sharing the word about silver too. Again, it's up to everybody to decide, whether that's the right investment for them or not. But even aside from that, it's the most darn fascinating story that I've ever seen. So if you want to know more about it, come on and join us at SilverFest this weekend.
Great. Chris Marcus from Arcadia Economics, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
To acquire gold and silver, just go to libertyandfinance.com. When the main site comes up, click on Bullion Sales. That's libertyandfinance.com, Bullion Sales. You'll see my name, Dunnigan Kaiser, my phone number, and my associate, Kaiser Johnson, his phone number, our email, libertyandfinance@protonmail.com.